So I've been using the iPhone 13 Pro for around 6 months now, basically ever since release, and I feel like yearly updates for phones haven't been as drastic as they were a few years ago. With the iPhone 13 Pro, it's all about the little improvements. So a quick recap in case you haven't seen my first review. I have the iPhone 13 Pro here in graphite, and it also has 512 gigabytes of storage. I'm asked often why didn't I go with the Max version, the Pro Max, and it's purely just down to size. I prefer the smaller form factor of the standard 13 Pro. I also love this graphite color, and I'm glad Apple kept it from the 12 Pro. It has a super clean satin-like finish on the back, and then the shiny stainless steel edges look incredible. I really do love the look of this phone, and I still think it's one of the best looking iPhones Apple has ever made alongside the iPhone 4. It'll be interesting to see if it gets updated later this year, but part of me is secretly hoping that they stick with this design. But to be honest, I keep it in a case most of the time. I love the feel of leather, so I'm currently using the official leather case from Apple. This one is in the midnight color, which is more of a navy blue really. It's not really black. I wish it were black like the previous year. I've tried so many other leather cases out there, but there's something about the Apple one that I like most. It feels soft and supple, but also gives you a much better grip when using the phone. All of the cutouts are also perfect, and there's a lip around the camera bump which helps protect the cameras from scratching or scraping. One complaint I did have in my original review was regarding the camera bump, the large camera bump. Because of the 13 Pro and the size of it and the wireless charging, it just made it more difficult to wireless charge the phone. I had to make sure it aligned better, I had to make sure it sit properly on the wireless charger, and yeah, it's still an issue, but I sort of adapted and forced myself to make sure that it's charging. So when I put the phone down on the charger, I listen out for that notification sound, that indicator saying it's charging. But I've also started using a lot of MagSafe wireless chargers. MagSafe chargers are easy to get now, and you can get third-party ones as well. And I recently picked up this one from Native Union. It's awesome. I think it looks incredible, and it allows me to rotate my phone if I need to as well. And it's just useful on my desk, being able to have it sort of face on, see what's going on my screen. Yeah, I love it. I also wanted to thank Masterworks for sponsoring this video. I love products and services that take something that was otherwise complicated or expensive to do and make it more accessible. Netflix and Spotify are good examples of services that made it easier to access things like movies, TV shows, and music. Masterworks is also becoming one of those services when it comes to accessing high-end artwork. It takes the otherwise very difficult to get into premium art market and makes it easier for the average person to invest in. It's become the premier art investment platform. They let you access their exclusive investments from names like Banksy, Monet, and other iconic artists for just a fraction of what billionaires pay to purchase them, because roughly 2/3 of billionaires allocate between 10 to 30% of their overall portfolio to art, in part to diversify and because it's a natural inflation hedge. It makes sense after all. Contemporary art prices outpaced the S&P 500 total return by 164% from 1995 to 2021, and have exhibited the lowest correlation to equities of nearly any major asset class. Since 2020, Masterworks has sold 3 paintings, with each returning over 30% net IRR to investors, and their new offerings usually sell out in hours. 30+% is a pretty insane return. So if you want to get in on it early, all you have to do is go to Masterworks, create an account, check out what they have, and invest in their offerings. And my subscribers get to skip the waitlist, so make sure to use my link in the description below. Battery life for me has also been really good, something that iPhones usually aren't known for, but I feel like in the last however many years, iPhones are just getting much better when it comes to battery life. I rarely have to charge throughout the day. I can easily go a day with moderate usage. I found the only time I burn through it quickly is when I'm watching TikToks or YouTube videos all day. But if I'm just using it for Twitter, Instagram, and just a general browsing, yeah, it will easily go a day, no problem. I think most people will be completely fine with the battery life on this, but if you are someone who needs that extra battery life, maybe you're quite a heavy user, I would highly recommend going with the Pro Max. That just has a much better battery life compared to the standard Pro. The screen on the 13 Pro has also been updated to now have 120Hz ProMotion, which is really nice. I'll also leave a link to the wallpaper in the description for anyone who's interested. It's not a make or break feature in my opinion. I could easily go without it, but it makes animations and overall user experience much snappier and faster feeling, even if it technically isn't. ProMotion is definitely one of those features which is hard to demonstrate on camera. It's one of those things that you actually have to experience in person and use it, see what it's like. I feel like this is one of those features which is more of a nice to have, and you notice it most when you go back to a standard 60Hz screen. 60Hz just feels jittery in comparison. The iPhone 13 Pro also has the new A15 Bionic chip, which obviously makes everything super fast and responsive. I've yet to really come across anything that makes the device feel slow, to be honest. The most intensive thing that I do is edit photos in Lightroom, but it handles that no problem. I think the key benefit of a processor like this though is that it should last years. 2 to 3 years from now, it should still feel very fast, which I think is important considering 2 to 3 years is the average that people do keep their phones. The cameras. So the headline feature for me when it comes to the iPhone 13 Pro is definitely the cameras. I love taking pictures. I am obsessed with photography and it's something I've been doing for over 10 years now. I use professional cameras for my professional work, but I also used to carry them around with me a lot for casual use. But ever since I've had this phone, I'm carrying around my A7C a lot less now. The pictures that come out of this thing I think are incredible, and it just amazes me because it's just a phone that fits in your pocket. This slim little device can fit in your pocket and yet take such great pictures. I primarily shoot in ProRAW, and the main reason for that is that you get an image that is much more easily editable, as I like to use my Lightroom presets to get a consistent look throughout my images. I'll leave a link to them down in the description below for those who are interested. The pictures that come out of the iPhone just seem to have this very clean look to them that some might find boring, but I think it actually does a great job of representing what your eyes actually see. It also nails the white balance 99% of the time, which makes getting the shot much easier and a quicker experience. Many of you do ask, how do I take pictures with my iPhone? How do I set it up and sort of compose shots and things like that? I do actually have a Skillshare class, which I'll leave a link to down in the description. You can check it out for free. Yeah, I'll just go through how I use my phone to take pictures. I always use the default camera app and leave all the settings in auto, other than of course the ProRAW option. I don't want to mess around for a couple of minutes before every shot getting the settings right. I just want to be able to take the shot quickly. Naturally, because the sensors are small compared to pro cameras, shooting with as much light as possible will always result in better images. So I primarily like to shoot outside or use natural light as much as possible. However, I do have some shots here of a store where there is only LED lighting, no natural lighting whatsoever, and the pictures turned out really well. I was very impressed. Clearly the A15 Bionic chip is doing a lot of work here in cleaning up the image, giving you the best image it can. I do try and avoid shooting at night. iPhone's night mode is pretty good, but it still won't come close to a pro camera. And that makes sense, as at the end of the day, physics come into play here, and a bigger full frame sensor will always be able to take in more light than a small sensor on a phone. Another thing that impressed me was the natural depth of field you get with the standard wide lens. If you have a subject fairly close to the camera, the background can appear naturally blurry, like a pro camera. To be clear, this is not portrait mode, this is straight out of the camera. Video capabilities are also really good, but to be honest, I don't actually shoot much video with it. The video I have shot with it has come out really good. Everyone always says that the iPhone is king when it comes to video, and I don't doubt them. There are actually a ton of YouTube channels out there that solely shoot with the iPhone, and Doug DeMuro is probably the best example. He's grown to over 4 million subscribers and he primarily shoots with an iPhone. I'm really happy to see cameras in phones just get better year on year. It's just incredible seeing how much they improve year on year. I'm really hoping at some point that it gets good enough where I don't even need to have a Sony A7C. I don't even need a pro camera anymore to take great pictures. Obviously, we're still years away from that. Who knows if it will actually ever happen, because like I said, physics really come down to play here. You need bigger sensors to technically take better images. I mean, obviously there's a lot more that goes into it, like the glass, the processing, all that sort of stuff. But clearly Apple are doing a lot with the processing when it comes to the images that come out of this thing. They're making them very good. And yeah, I'm just hoping at some point, like I said, you know, I won't even need my Sony A7C anymore. I can just carry this with me and take incredible pictures every time. To be honest, there isn't much to dislike about the iPhone 13 Pro. It is near enough the perfect phone, and it's only going to get better as the tech improves. I think the only two things I would like to see in future models is USB-C, of course, instead of Lightning, as Apple are clearly all in on USB-C for everything else, and maybe an always-on lock screen like we see with Android phones. It would be nice to be able to see the time, battery, and any notifications without having to pick up the phone. I don't even see the iPhone 13 Pro as a phone with a camera. I actually like to see it as a camera with a phone, which makes me think, how cool would it be if we saw Apple make a dedicated camera? One can only wish, right? But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. For those who got to the end of the video, please let me know what phone you're using in the comments below. It doesn't have to be an iPhone, it can be anything. I'm interested to see what phones people are using, what phones are popular. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.